So this thing happened and opened for me a whole can of worms. So today I'm going to share those vermin with you. Hello, everyone. This is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel. Welcome to the I Love Jeet Kune broadcast number 292. This is the one about not knowing what you don't know in Jeet Kune. As you're logging in, if you'd be kind enough to say where you're logging in from, hit the like button. Feel free to continue doing so throughout the broadcast. If you're catching the simulcast over on the YouTube, please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the I Love Jeet Kune broadcasts. All right, so from the get-go, let me explain the little dilemma in which I find myself. And no, this is not about me, because I know that many of my colleagues out there experience this as well. It's this never-ending debate between Jeet Kune concepts and original Jeet Kune, which is almost older than I am. I'm just kidding. But seriously, it's been going on for a long time. And one of the reasons why it continues is because there are new people coming into JKD. And so they start posting and commenting because it's probably one of the first things that they hear about. And then depending on from what direction their information is coming, they post. It's new to them. They very often don't realize that it's not new to everybody else. And they definitely do not realize that to some people, it is annoying AF. And then there are some old timers who don't have anything better to do with their time. So they engage in the tomfoolery as well. I tend to get involved mostly when I take on the self-imposed responsibility to keep Sifu Dan and Asano's name in the clear. So if a post is made that directly or indirectly points to him as someone who forsook the true JKD path in favor of multiple styles, and worse, when some people try to declare that he did it for money, then I speak up, and it might seem as if I am invested in continuing this debate. I'm not. So today's broadcast is made about what engendered it was a post about an instructor's experience during the intake process with a new student at his school. So long story short, he is unimpressed that this new student, who has trained for a while at another JKD school, he is unimpressed that this student fights out of left lead, that he throws a horizontal straight lead instead of a vertical straight lead. And the student was surprised that at this new school, they train with their shoes on. Now, this is something that can very easily be ignored. But the thing that drove me to talk about it is that I'm pretty sure I know the school that was referenced, the old school. And so I know that none of the owners, none of the instructors at that place are evil people who are looking to make money while deliberately leading people astray. However, I cannot let them off the hook completely, because the post did raise some important issues that we should discuss, especially if you're going to carry the word JKD in what you teach. If you're somehow picking up the mantle and carrying the mantle of JKD, then there are certain things that have to be present. You should be, I'll deal with the three issues that were pointed out. Your students definitely have to be exposed to the concept of power side forward. There's no two ways about it. All right. But you have to explain it to them. It doesn't mean that they never train in Southpaw. In fact, it's probably better to expose them to both things and then let them decide if one works better or not for them. Because I remember, I've talked about this before, but I can remember being told that there were two members of Bruce Lee's Chinatown School who were proficient boxers. And so the idea of forcing them to switch to right lead wasn't, how should I put it, wasn't necessarily imposed on them. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that all of their training was conducted in left lead. I doubt that very much. That doesn't mean, again, I doubt very much that they themselves did all their training only in left lead. I'm sure that they went in and out. But my point is, because of their level of proficiency as boxers, the idea of letting them maintain and develop even more proficiency without forcing them to switch to right lead, that was a little bit of a thing. Okay, that was allowed, right? Anyhow, I digress. The thing about power side, and again, this is going to be, it might not even be a topic, but this is just my thought on it. Why hasn't power side forward taken off as a predominant strategy in combat sports? Now, as soon as you say combat sports, they go, oh, well, that's because JKD is not for sports. And that's no. Hang on a second. The people in combat sports, the people in athletics, period, professional athletics, will invest a lot of time and effort and possibly even money in hunting down any little thing that can improve their tactics and strategy. So my question is, if power side forward is so proven an unbeatable strategy, why I have not heard of a large scale adoption of this approach? I know there are some people who put it out there, right? But I have not heard of a large scale adoption. And so I present that for your contemplation. Okay, I'm not making any decisions or projections about it. But again, I digress, right? So now, horizontal fist versus vertical fist. I would say that people who do a lot of the horizontal stuff, that is largely due to the adoption of traditional kickboxing into the training methods of many JKD associated people. When we started training in Muay Thai, we went to left lead. But I always considered my Muay Thai training to be a supplement to my JKD training. And so switching to left lead, for me, it didn't seep all the way into the roots of my JKD. So, but what it did do was to encourage me to train left and right lead in Muay Thai, right and left. Well, we were already doing right and left lead in JKD. And one of the reasons why we were already doing right and left lead is because in my very, very early days, I noticed that the kickboxing was done out of left lead by a lot of people. But then the trap in hand stuff was done out of right lead. And immediately alarm bells went off in my head. And I was like, no. We got to do all four, right? You got to trap in both left and right lead, and you got to kickbox in both left and right lead. So the Muay Thai thing was never that much of an issue for me. And then years later, I may have shared this with you before, but on the pages of, actually this is page 127 of the Jeet Kune commentaries book, there's a lot of stuff in there. There's a few pages of Bruce Lee's notes that talk about training out of the left stance. That's all I'll say. In Bruce Lee's own notes, there's a few pages of training. And this is different from what is my response to a left stancer, right? So as in, Bruce Lee, in my right lead, what is my response to a left stancer? This is different from that. This is talking about actually training your left side as well. It's in his notes. I didn't make this up. Okay. But again, I digress. All right. Okay, so here's the last point. Training barefooted. All right. Personally, I like the idea of wearing shoes. I really do. Because I never had toes that were flexible enough for that goddamn Shotokan front kick. So when I got into JKD, I was very happy about the sneakers. And in fact, I would go so far as to say, look, if at your school, because of the grappling, because of whatever, you have matted your floor, I still think that there should be somewhat of an effort to train in shoes. But now you got to have a rule. You cannot wear we used to use wrestling shoes. You cannot wear your wrestling shoes out in the street and walk onto the mat with those same shoes. No. The rule has to be shoes on the mat or worn on the mat and nowhere else. I would still make somewhat of an effort to have people train their JKD in wrestling shoes, even if they're on mats, right? But that's just me. Okay, so let me wrap this up. To my greater point, if you are teaching Jeet Kune and you are just accepting everything that is given to you without questioning it, and without questioning it based on the other things that you have heard, the other things that you may have learned. In other words, I saw this again recently. If you're instructed to shadow box at a seminar and all you do is to shadow box Muay Thai style, then you don't know what you don't know. If, again, at a seminar, if you're doing counter-offensive drills and most, if not all, of the responses call for you to go, for example, cross, hook, cross, and you are not investigating counters that are based on using your lead weapon primarily or initially, then you don't know what you don't know. If you're doing your trapping hands drills and you're using the vertical fist when you're trapping, but when you do your punching drills, you don't use that same vertical fist, then you don't know what you don't know. If you think that kickboxing in JKD means the same thing that kickboxing means in American kickboxing, or that kickboxing means in Muay Thai, then you don't know what you don't know. If you think that there are 4 ranges of combat in Jeet Kune but you don't have an explanation for how those 4 ranges operate within long, middle, and close quarter distances, then you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know what you don't know, then you better ask somebody. Snoop Dogg. Okay. And so last thing, remember what my JKD senior Chris Kent have said. I'm paraphrasing. This is not a direct quote. JKD is sometimes not just about asking questions and getting answers. Sometimes it's about questioning the answers that you get as well. Something like that. Okay. So what say you? What do you think about this whole idea of I want to say ending this debate, but I know it's not going to end. How do you maintain your sanity? All right. Like I said earlier, my whole thing is I get involved if something is pointing at Dan Inosanto, because I was there. Not when the term Jeet Kune concepts was coined. I wasn't there, but I was there when the term was being used in a seminar setting. Literally, I was there. So since I was there, as I've said before, if you're not there, then you don't really understand the context. You can only report on what somebody else tells you or what have you. But if you're there when it happens, then you understand the context in which it's being used. And I can tell you for sure, on that occasion when I heard Sifu Inasano say, I don't teach these, I teach Jeet Kune Do concepts, because I was there, I understood the context perfectly, okay? Because I understand how he talks, right? My good friend and senior, Tanya Subing Monroe, is on here too. She will understand exactly what I mean about how Sifu Inasano talks, extemporaneously, when he is in the moment and he says something and what have you. If you walk away from taking what he just said as gospel, you're not with it, okay? You got to be there to understand it, and you have to understand what's going on. Anyhow, right? So I'm just going to leave you with all that. But let me know what you think in the comments below. That's all I got to say about this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Follow me on Twitter at Dwight Woods and on Instagram at Dwight D. Woods, at paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. The Jeet Kune Do Journey Volume 1 is available. paypal.me/UnifiedMA Miami. You can also support me and the program at jkdrebel.com. Click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this, the JKD Notables t-shirt, stuff like this, the 4 Tenets of Jeet Kune Do coffee mug. Just check out the stuff that's on there. I am working on getting some newer products in there. Actually, I'm working on 2 things. I'll probably be able to tell you about them next week. Okay. And that's it for today. So let me know what you think. Oh, no, that's not it for today. On Friday, 6 p.m., Jeet Kune Do Dialogues episode. I think this is his 3rd appearance with Kurt Cornwell of Boombox Martial Arts and MKG Detroit. I'm dying to find out where the name Boombox Martial Arts comes from, right? So that's Friday at 6 p.m., October 6th, 6 p.m. Today is an Orange Day. Doesn't happen that often, right? So I'll see some of you on Friday at 6. If not, see you back here next Wednesday for another issue of the I Love Jeet Kune Do broadcast. Until then, this is Dwight Woods, the JKD Rebels, signing off. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. Talk soon.